Okay, I just ate a little bit of pizza. Let's keep going. I left the parking garage with a slightly clearer picture of the world I'd been tossed into thanks to Vandal. Luckily, the guard at the entrance was gone, so I avoided another awkward encounter. Maybe Randall would explain things to him later. I mean, who cares? He literally never appears again. That whole mess had worked out somehow, although I had to wonder how much was just beginner's luck, since most of it seemed too convenient to be true. I arrived at the hotel with an overwhelming sense of relief, making my way back to the meeting room from last night. No. As it turned out, Charisse and Heath were already waiting for me. Welcome back, Valkii. We already heard about the little mess you caused at the parking garage. Word travels fast. Heath's airy voice rang with pride, and he offered me an encouraging smile. Yes, you've done quite an impressive job. Your performance certainly surpassed my expectations. Unsurprisingly, Charisse didn't match Heath's smile, but she did offer me a sharp nod. Yeah, but... Ahem. We will now be choosing... I think in this video, we'll be choosing Marcus. Before we go any further, let me clear the air. I predicted that Randall would see through your knife, through the knife deception. However, you accomplished a twofold task, perhaps without realizing it. You disrupted their truce discussions, at least for now, and you also made yourself known by name to Randall, who is a significantly powerful vampire. From the smug lilt in her tone, I could tell Charisse was pretty pleased with the outcome of events. Did that mean my instincts were right? None of what happened back there was an accident? As I mentioned earlier, your naivety is assumed by everyone you meet. Even secretive, insular vampires will open up to you simply because they want to win you to their cause. You should use this to your advantage while you still can. Ingratiate yourself with those who believe you have no allegiances. Duly noted, I'm not as naive as I think I am. Indeed, I believe you have keen insight. It will undoubtedly serve you well in the tangled webs of our society. She sniffed, pointedly, nudging her glasses back up her nose. That matter aside, I have another task for you. It entails less conflict, but it is of equal importance. I'm listening. One of my contacts in South LA was unreachable tonight. I need to know why, but I can't spare any of my other associates to go find her. Things are very busy, you see. I imagine she's perfectly fine, as she often vanishes for a night or two to engage in frivolities, but I'd like to confirm the situation. Go to the area, track her down, and report back to me. Not too complicated, is it? Understood, I'll come back once I found your person. Excellent, I have the greatest faith you'll carry out that promise. My calm response seemed to please Charisse, who peered at me contently from over her glasses. Very well. One final thing, Valkii, before you go. ... I suggest you partner yourself with, or at least try to learn from, an older vampire. My agent here, Heath, is relatively new himself, but he may have some valuable insights on Hollywood to share with you. When Charisse mentioned his name, Heath perked up, his eyes sparkling curiously. Did I hear you compliment me just now, Charisse? I was merely stating the facts. She coolly replied to Heath without missing a beat. Oh, I see. Moving along. Marcus, too, possesses remarkable insight and knowledge, but as a Golgotha, he is also particularly eccentric, and his loyalties are unpredictable. Take everything he says with a grain of salt. And this may come as a surprise. If you decide to seek out Randall as a mentor, I won't stop you. I acknowledge the strength of his position, as well as his charisma and conviction. However, do not let yourself be swayed by his anarchistic beliefs. The current war is proof of what happens when vampires eschew leadership, chaos, paranoia, and bloodshed. Thanks for the advice, I'll choose carefully. So you should. The decision may be the most important one you'll ever make. Heath and I will be staying here to discuss affairs, but I'll expect your report in the next few days, Valkii. She lifted an elegant hand, pointedly gesturing towards the door. Heath looked disappointed, flashing me an apologetic grimace when Charisse wasn't looking, but it seemed like he was stuck there for the moment. I took the hint and left, heading towards the elevator. A part of me wondered what affairs they were talking about, but eavesdropping probably wasn't worth the risk. My room welcomed me back with all its glamorous, lifeless shine. But as relieved and happy as I was to complete my trial, I felt incredibly restless and uneasy. Lifting the curtains with one hand, I gazed out the window, absorbing the vibrant cityscape before me. Yesterday, it had all felt like a dream. Today, reality was finally setting in. I was a vampire, chained to eternity, trapped behind glass, separated from the Hollywood life I'd dreamed of, so close and forever unreachable. Like the cityscape, that dream would always glitter in the distance, a reminder of what I'd lost. No matter how strong I was, it still felt like my whole world had just plunged upside down, and I couldn't find anywhere to put my feet. Maybe I really did need a mentor to help me through this. Rules, etiquette, and powers, I could figure those out by myself given enough time. But that wasn't what I needed most. I needed a way to ground myself, to figure out what being a vampire really meant and who I was becoming. The 3 men Charisse mentioned seemed to know what they were doing, if nothing else. There was a good chance that one of them could help me discover my place in this new life. With that, I made up my mind. Tomorrow I'd go and see... okay. This is for you. Sipping the tea and Ragnarok Entertainment. This is for you. Marcus. There you go. Something strange drew me to Marcus. It felt like everything he said had a double meaning or hinted at a future that I didn't understand yet. And of course, he had the same gifts that I had. Maybe he could explain a little more about why these odd visions and words kept floating through my mind. If I teamed up with Marcus, then at the very least I knew things would never get boring. Then it was settled. Tomorrow I'd take a break from running Charisse's errands and go find Marcus instead. That thought was only a small pillar in the whirlwind I'd been thrown into, but I clung onto it as tightly as I could. A little excitement sparked through me as I shut the curtains, curling onto my bed to hide from the coming daylight. If this was what fate had in store for me, then so be it. I would fight and struggle to stay afloat in this world I'd been thrown into, and no matter what, I wouldn't give up. Even if it meant I would never see another sunrise again. Well, that choice has been taken out of your hands. Night curled around Los Angeles the same way it always did. I wasn't about to ask the hotel clerk for directions to a pawn shop, so I decided to wander the streets until I found it myself. After all, if the sign was coloured as brightly as the business card, then it wouldn't be too hard to spot, hopefully. My guess was right. After about 30 minutes of prowling the city, I found myself standing before a rundown, incredibly sketchy-looking black building. Blood and Roses, the neon red sign proudly flashed, written in a nearly illegible fancy script. It was somehow surreal, much like its strange owner. The shop I stepped into was the unholy union of a goth teenager's bedroom and Dracula's sex dungeon. My eyes were attacked with an obscene amount of red velvet, gaudy lighting, and faux Victorian furniture, but that wasn't the most striking part. That honour belonged to the whips, chains, and shockingly large accessories on display. As for the floors, they were cluttered with shelves chock full of books, VCR tapes, and magazines. I couldn't even begin to count how many. It was like a pervert's library of Alexandria. Out of morbid curiosity, I picked up a tape, glancing at its cover. It came in outer space, a titillating tale of erotic horror. Sorry, I have a bit of a headache, so I'm just getting ready to put a pill in some water. A timeless classic, no doubt. And it is your faith that shall bring you riches, for God rewards his loyal children with the kingdom of plenty. Suddenly, a loud, static-filled voice reverberated through the shop. Call the number below to make your first pledge, your first step to becoming gods. Wouldn't you like to see more of me? Another voice, feminine and breathy, abruptly cut off the shouting man. Just dial in those 10 little numbers and you can buy the greatest thrill of your life for only... Now is your chance. Give unto the Lord, and he shall giveth unto you. Let your eyes roam over every inch of my body. Marcus, stop fucking with me. When I rounded the corner of the shelves, I finally spotted the source. Marcus, who was flipping between 2 TV channels as he leaned on the counter. The screen flickered from a blonde, pearly-teethed preacher in a white suit to a sultry brunette in the skimpiest lingerie I'd ever seen. How on earth will I ever decide? Only one salary, but so many worthy causes. He heaved a long theatrical sigh, shaking his head. Oh, why hello, Valkii. I had no earthly idea you were waiting there. From his satisfied chuckle, I could tell he definitely had every idea I was waiting there. May I ask how you're finding my parlor so far? Does it tickle any of your fancies? Let's be nice to him. Since, I can't get his, like, good, good ending, until I get another one of his endings. I can't remember. So we'll just choose what we want for now. I won't lie, I'm pretty impressed. I thought you might just appreciate it. Only a refined connoisseur of I've never seen this word in my life. My god, concupiscence? No. You know what? Let's go look. With this this will probably be a bit loud, so. Oh, I hate that. Strong sexual desire.
Concupiscence.
Did you hear that? Sorry, that was so loud. Concupiscence. Okay. Concupiscence. Why was that person so British? Okay. Anyway, I can admire my aesthetic tastes. I recognize a true purveyor of the prurient when I see one. Another low, throaty laugh leaked out of him. Well, it would be a lie if I said I didn't expect your face to turn up on my doorstep. I had this unshakable feeling that our paths would cross again before long. Marcus drummed his fingers on the countertop, leaning forward slightly. You have that peculiar look in your eyes, the kind that suggests you are intrigued by me, but not entirely sure what to expect. Am I correct? Yes, that's pretty much exactly it. He paused at my reply, an unreadable look shifting through his eyes. I see. Plucking up his remote, Marcus switched the TV to a channel of pure static. Then, letting out a slight grunt, he vaulted deftly over the counter, landing beside me with surprising grace. Very well, very well. How can I be of service to you? I am at your complete disposal, of course. Provided that you don't ask of me anything too taxing or insipid. What? I don't want to be too weird, because I don't think you're supposed to be too weird. But let's say it anyway. Soup? Does this look like a soup store to you? Rather than sounding sarcastic, Marcus simply seemed puzzled, as if he hadn't considered the possibility up until now. He picked up a VHS off the counter beside him, giving the cover a skeptical lick. Cream of mushroom tastes rather different from what I remembered. Wiping his mouth on his sleeve, Marcus let out a long sigh, setting the tape back down. However, the next moment his expression began to sober. That look reminded me of our conversation at the hotel, back when Marcus told me not to trust anyone. You do seem rather lost, not because you've strayed from the herd, but because the beasts around you are strange and unfamiliar. They give you no warmth, yet warmth is what a body like yours seeks most, as with all bodies robbed of their heat. He pointed towards my heart, his black painted fingernail almost touching my shirt. You were so cruelly scooped out of the dark, and for that reason, I am intrigued to see how you'll struggle and grow towards the light, or away from it. Your surface may charm me, but I am far more interested in what lies beneath your flesh and bones. The depths of your rotting cage. That's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. They keep me around for my skills and flattery. Closing his eyes, Marcus let a slow, elusive smile creep over his face. Whether it was mischievous, wicked, kind, or sagely, I couldn't tell. If you so desire, sister, I will open my arms for you to join me in my downgoing, for my path leads under all of Hollywood. But a true journey of self-discovery as a vampire is not, as you may have surmised, a mere holiday picnic. I have suffered and rejoiced to extremes, and you must suffer and rejoice by my side, embracing both in equal measure. I cannot pull the serpent of darkness free from your mouth, no. You must bite its head off yourself. That is the only way to surpass what we are, as we stand only in the middle, not at the end. Are you prepared for it? Whatever's in store for me, I'm ready for it, Marcus. You most certainly are not, but I applaud your enthusiasm nonetheless. There's nothing wrong with being positive. Then, after clapping his hands together, he offered his arm to me. Come then, sister. No need for further ceremony. Sorry, my cat's being annoying. You and I will walk arm in arm until the path splits. Yeah, why not? When I looped my arm around his own, Marcus nodded once, leading me away from the counter. He began to stroll idly along the shelves, guiding me through a maze of lewd displays. Among all the standard videos and toys, I noticed a few unusual things tucked away. Foreboding black boots, miniature Greek busts, even stacks of sheet music. They didn't look designed to be stuffed inside an orifice, so they were probably just decorative. Now that I am officially your mentor, I prefer the term companion, even if it makes me sound like a high-class escort, I have a question for you. Marcus addressed me airily as we walked along, the candlelight flickering in his sunglasses. It's quite important, you see, to understand the most powerful emotion within all of us. Fear. He purred out the word with obvious delight. When I paused to give him a questioning look, Marcus studied me from the corner of one glowing blue eye. So tell me, Valkii, even if it's only an echo at the bottom of your spirit, what do you fear most in this new life forced upon you? Losing my purpose, not having a goal, I'm afraid of not understanding it, my nature as a vampire, I think, being lonely, isolated from everyone. This noise you're hearing is my cat on a pizza box, an older pizza box, but I can't bring myself to throw it away when she sleeps on it. Hey, no, that's my painkillers. I don't know what to pick. Any of these, I'm not gonna choose this one. I'm not gonna choose anything that just reminds me of Heath. I guess this would also remind me of Heath. These two, this would remind me of him as well. Because we're not gonna talk about Heath. Okay. I'm afraid of not understanding it. I see, and I have no answers to offer you, I'm afraid, although I do have plenty of questions. It makes for a healthier diet in the end, even if it's more difficult to digest. He licked his lips, then parted them to flash me a brief, fanged grin. But now, more importantly, just why do you seek to understand this underworld of ours? Something else. I'm not sure I know what drives me yet. What drives you drives us all, sister. Remember that. Alright. After a thoughtful pause, Marcus abruptly swirled to face me, his coat fluttering through the air. He inhaled deeply, nodding to himself in a sagely fashion. It looked like he'd had some kind of revelation, or else he was about to say something particularly important. Yes, this is the right place and the right time, isn't it? Marcus muttered under his breath, his voice low and ominous. I feel as if I've been waiting so long, waiting for someone just like you, Valkii. Now is the hour when I am most in need, when you came searching, when both our souls were destined to begin this great journey. You must take your first step onwards down the terrible path towards a grand and dangerous future. By organizing my shelves, he patted one of the cases of obscene merchandise beside us. The various rubbery shapes wiggled like stacks of pudding, only more phallic. This new shipment arrived just earlier, and I haven't had a chance to line them up in an eye-catching fashion. Thank heavens you manifested when you did, my little saviour. Right, I'm on it, figuratively speaking. He gave my head a little pat, then swept his arm invitingly towards the shelves. Make sure to organize them creatively, from the little tickler to that behemoth creation that promises to make your gaseous expulsions silent for life. Jesus. What's that modern phrase? Ah, yes, like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. That's it. Marcus. Bite your tongue. And so, without really having any say in the matter, I spent my third night as a vampire organizing dildos. Ah, the dream, am I right, guys? Haha. I couldn't tell if Marcus was making me do this for his own amusement, or if he genuinely believed it was important somehow. With anyone else, it would have been easy. It would have easily been the former, but with Marcus, who could really say? Why is there a peacock on the floor? Oh. What is it? Is it some... I don't know what that is. It looks like a coat rack or a hat rack or whatever, but it's like got a peacock on the end. Okay, he helpfully offered to supervise my work, which meant occasionally putting down his newspaper to come judge my process. Each time he'd critique my organisation, asking why I'd aligned the paddles a certain way or why I'd put the whole hammer beside the turkey stuffer. But despite how frustrating his constant remarks were, I started to realise he wasn't doing it out of sadism. Pure sadism, anyway. He kept giving me questions that made me pause and think, even if they seemed completely trivial or much too obvious. Marcus didn't seem to care how I replied either, as long as I came up with a confident answer. Eventually, as the shelves grew more creative and interesting, Marcus started to look more satisfied too. That expression was always the easiest to read on his face. It mirrored the complacent look of a well-fed, contented cat. Ring ring. I glanced up from the last shelf to see Marcus reaching beneath the counter, pulling out an ancient-looking phone. Yes, this is Blood and Roses, Den of Depravity, Carnival of Carnality, and Booty Boutique. How may I help you? His gaze abruptly flickered over to meet mine. Why, hello. Yes, she's here. Yes. Yes, I know, but... Marcus lowered his head slightly, exhaling a quiet sigh. One day, perhaps. Alright, I won't worry for her then. Goodbye. What's happened? Lowering the receiver from his ear, he slowly returned it to the base. Talking about me? We were, yes. Something you should get accustomed to in this city, I believe. Clearing his throat loudly and deliberately, Marcus strolled back over to me. The call seemed to have dampened his mood a little, but his eyes soon started to gleam again. Well, well, well. He peered at the rows of merchandise I'd laid out, grinning smugly. Since you've done such astounding work, perhaps I should ask Charisse to station you here regularly. My shelves don't restock themselves, after all. It was kind of fun, actually. Blood and Roses put the FU in fun, didn't you know? For a few moments, Marcus smiled at me in silence, observing my face curiously. It felt like he was judging my reaction, or maybe scanning me for something in particular. Ah, well. As they say, time always flies when you're having fun. Time has indeed flown, making it about the hour for me to close, I'm afraid. There wasn't any hastiness in his voice, but I could tell Marcus was gently trying to excuse himself. However, our next encounter lies close on the horizon, that much I can promise you. Until then, I trust you will take tonight's lessons to heart. Yes, along with the nightmares about the Anal Armageddon 3000. Ah, the double A3K, not for the faint of heart, nor faint of rear. One day perhaps you'll come to appreciate him in his majesty. Marcus's wiry shoulders lifted in a shrug, his reply completely deadpan. Do enjoy the remainder of your evening, Valkii. I'll see you around, Marcus. With a last flicker of a smile, Marcus sauntered back among the shelves, his footsteps silent on the carpet. He seemed to be slipping away into thought, maybe from the phone call he'd gotten earlier. Still feeling caught up in the night's unusual turn of events, I made my way towards the exit. Oh, excuse me, darling. Oh, it's... I can't remember her name, but she's the other... blood pet. I think that's what they're called. When I opened the door, a short, eye-catchingly dressed woman was on the other side. After curiously examining my face for a few moments, she wiggled her fingers at me and hurried inside. A regular customer, maybe? Or was she one of Marcus's friends? Either way, something about her seemed faintly unusual, although I couldn't pinpoint exactly what. I left the shop without further interruptions, just as two muffled voices began to chatter inside. I spent the rest of the night exploring LA's dark streets, observing the world with my keen new senses. More than just sharper hearing and eyesight, I felt like I could perceive the world more deeply. Things I'd never have noticed before now popped out at me, demanding my attention. People's mannerisms, the emotions in their eyes, their fears. The meaning of a discarded envelope, a missing coat button, a reason for chocolate over strawberry, white versus black, open or closed. Everything, even trivial things, started to hold new meaning. A meaning I couldn't always understand, but I knew it was there, and sometimes I could guess it. But if I strained my insight too hard, the world started to feel blurry, distorted. Strange words formed in my mind by themselves, riddles and wordplay that mirrored reality. Until my mind fully adjusted, it made sense to hold myself back. Or else I really might fall into that eerie Golgotha insanity I kept hearing about. Finally, as I began heading back to the hotel, a fresh hunger stirred in my gut. Sunrise was still an hour off, so I could feed from a human if I wanted to. Hell yeah, I could just go feed from a human, who cares? There was no point struggling against my instincts. If animals hunted in the wild, then I could hunt in the streets. It was only natural. After a short search, I found a woman just outside a restaurant's back exit, probably leaving her shift. She looked baffled as I pulled her aside, but once I sank my fangs into her neck, her confusion faded into mindless bliss. With a pleasant warmth now tingling inside me, I left her sitting in a daze by the door, where she'd probably soon be discovered. By the time I returned to my hotel room, settling in for the night, everything was beginning to feel more natural. It was still bizarre to think I'd been turned into a blood-sucking pretty corpse, but I realized something important. I could use my house to better understand myself. My powers were a reflection of how I was in life, or how I wanted to be. The mysterious vampire who sired me must have brought me into his house because we were similar somehow. By learning how other Golgotha acted, how they used their powers, I'd also tried to learn more about myself, my true nature. As morning crept closer and I curled up on the bed to hide away from the sun, I resolved to keep that promise. After all, undead or not, the week wouldn't last long in Hollywood. During the day, I had a dream. Master, Father of Secrets. Those words attached to a thinly smiling face stood out to me in the dark. I knew he was waiting. Is this, God, I don't remember anyone's name. I don't know why I believe it begins with an L, but I don't think it does. That's just the word that's coming out to me. The night sky flickered past outside my car window, its stars almost invisible through all the light pollution. I was on my way to South Los Angeles, courtesy of Charisse's driver. He never said a word, which was slightly unnerving, but the circumstances didn't really lend themselves to small talk. Only a few days ago, Marcus and I had taken the same sedan to the Hollywood Heights Hotel. And now, here I was riding it again, rolled out like a bowling ball from Charisse's fingertips. Unlike my previous mission, I hadn't been given a lot to go on. All I knew was the description of Charisse's agent, a Latina, Iscari blood, grey suit with blue shirt, appeared in her mid-30s. She'd gone missing a few days ago, and even though Charisse said the agent usually took lengthy vacations, I had a bad feeling about this. Yeah, I think this will be nothing, like, literally nothing about this will be different. Maybe something about me being a Golgotha will make it different, but I don't know. Before long, the sedan pulled over to a seemingly random point on the street. Of course, the driver didn't say anything, but I could guess that this was my drop-off point. I left the car for the streets of South LA, wondering how exactly to start my search. Asking around wouldn't be a bad idea, though most of the people passing by looked pretty unsavory. I could also try to track her down myself if there were any traces of her scent left. My best bet was to probably go watch a movie. Yeah, let's go watch a movie. I keep questioning myself. I'm like, is this a Golgotha answer, or was this always there? I don't know. It's been too long. Ugh, sorry, I'm trying to take these painkillers. I feel like the dissolving ones that you dissolve into water, they work better than the other ones, even though I swallow pills so easily. Like the soluble tablets, yeah. I feel like they work better, but they're just disgusting. Alright. Let's just ask around. I think that's the easiest one to do. Rumors and potential witnesses, probably my best bet. I'd have to remember I was dealing with mortals, though. I wasn't sure if that made things easier or harder. Well, since you can almost glamour people in a way, I would say it would be easier, right? I wandered around for a little while, talking to a few people who seemed like they hung out on the street. Prostitutes, pimps, dealers, the homeless, but most of them weren't willing to talk, and the ones that did talk hadn't seen the agent. Just as I was starting to get frustrated by my string of failures, someone on the street caught my eye. A middle-aged man leaning on the wall outside a storefront, his eyes intently flicking over the people passing by. My vision suddenly blurred. Oh. This is new. I don't remember this. I saw a hut. This is like the vision, like the Golgotha thing. This is what I like. I always kind of wanted to be a Golgotha because it's the most interesting one, in my opinion. I saw 100 glimmering needles sticking out from his face and body, and then they were gone. I don't know what that means. Does that mean He's a drug dealer. Does that mean he's a druggie? I don't know. Without pausing to reconsider my questionable decision, I quickly approached him. Well, hello there, honey. The man's eyes roamed over my face, crawling down my body. Judging from his eager, predatory smile, I probably wasn't dealing with some pleasant gentleman out for a smoke. I'm looking for a Latina in her mid-30s, grey suit, blue shirt. You seen her? Oh? Maybe, maybe not. He cackled delightedly, a high-pitched sound that was too full of excitement. And maybe I'll tell you if you come back with me somewhere nice and private, Listen, this is important. I really need to find her. Oh, it can't be that important, honey. I'm sure she could wait. We can talk about whatever your little heart wants, but let's have some fun first. Well, this was a waste of time. Hey, wait. We can have all sorts of fun together, I promise. But I was already turning away. Okay, so I don't get anything out of him because I chose the wrong options, basically. There was a pretty high chance that sleazy slimeballs didn't know anything, and even if he did, I probably wouldn't be able to get it out of him without debasing myself. Maybe it was better to try and look somewhere else. Hey! As I headed further down the street, a different voice called out to me. I turned to see a young woman hurrying up to my side, some human I'd never seen before. I overheard you talking to that guy back there. He's the manager at the shop I work at. She giggled, twirling a strand of hair around one finger. I'm so sorry. It's really not that bad. Anyway, I was out on the street with him the other night when we saw that girl pass by, the one you mentioned. My boss, he wanted to go on a date with her or something, so he followed her down that side road, that back one there, trying to go into the Valley Girl accent. She flicked her thumb over her shoulder towards the alley at the end of the block. Was someone with her? No, she was by herself. But she kept looking over her shoulder a lot. I can't do an American accent. I hate it. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. My boss said, she, vanished somewhere in that alley, but I don't know where she went. It's a dead end. It sounds like you're her friend, so maybe you can figure it out? You look like you know what you're doing. Oh my god. Farewell, my syphilis sunshine. I kind of have to. What did you just call me? That's so fun. I'm so sorry, but that's a good line. Turning around, I made my way towards the alley the girl pointed to, keeping my eye out for any sign of a struggle. But I couldn't see or smell anything, just a putrid mix of urine and sweat. Ooh. And when I wandered further in, I realized why they thought the agent disappeared. It was very much a dead end, except for the manhole leading to the sewers. If the agent was chasing someone or running from someone, it seemed like a perfect escape route. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.